Well, hello everybody. I am sitting here in my chair. I have my Half-Life 2 notes in front of me, and you guys have all of a sudden just showed up. Yes, you guys have been knocking at my door saying, "Where is the Half-Life 2 discussion video?" And I say, sit down in my room and listen to my tale, for we are going to be here for a while. Yes, everybody, I'm BigMacDavis here, and for those of you watching in the playlist of Half-Life 2 walkthrough, this will be a seamless transition, but for those of you who have kept up watching the new episodes of Half-Life 2, you know it has been over a year since I've touched anything on Half-Life 2. And I apologize for that. Just a quick introduction right here. Basically, the announcement and trailer of the new Half-Life Alyx has inspired me to actually jump back into Half-Life once again. I've always enjoyed Half-Life, don't get me wrong, but this new insurgence of Half-Life has gotten me dang excited for more Half-Life. Yes, I'm on the verge of just going nuts right now, emotionally, because I'm just that excited. So yes, I sat down. I read through all the wikis that I could about Half-Life 2 and the Combine, and I jotted a lot of notes down because I wanted to make sure that I got this right. Because I want to make sure that I get this right for the audience that has followed my 100% walkthrough. If I'm going to do a 100% walkthrough, it better be good. And it better be one of the best out there if I'm going to tackle the 100%. So here we go. Take off your coats and stay a while, because I'm not sure how long this episode is going to be, but it is going to be probably one of my more longer episodes, I'd say. And once we get started, we are not turning back. So here we go. If you guys don't already know, yes, I have done discussion videos on Half-Life, Half-Life Opposing Force, and Half-Life Blue Shift. If you guys have not watched those discussion videos yet, I urge you to go do so right now, because some of the information here that I present in this video is under the assumption that you have already seen those discussion videos. So if you have not done so, do so right now. They are on YouTube, and I will put the links in the description below as well. So, we have Half-Life. We have Half-Life Opposing Force and Half-Life Blue Shift. As we know, I've done walkthroughs on those games. We know the events that happened there. Although, generally, with Valve-type Half-Life games, it leaves us with more questions than answers. And so, while some of the information was revealed to us in those 3 games, definitely a lot more questions were raised as well. Which brings us to Half-Life 2. And the game just dumps you in the middle of an environment on Earth, and you basically don't know what the heck is going on. Yes, when you look at the game cover, it says Half-Life 2. So you think it would be a continuation of Half-Life, but as you're playing, it seems to be a completely different game. You're not in Black Mesa anymore. You're not even in the same location anymore. You're somewhere else on Earth, set in the future. Because as we remember from the first game, the G-Man put us in a stasis field for goodness knows how long. And he comes to us in the void, and he wakes us back up and says, "Gordon, the time has come for you to basically save the day again." And the G-Man puts you on a train, bound for City 17? I have never heard of that city name when you look at a globe, a world map of the world. Where's the city? Where is City 17? You don't know. In fact, as you step out, you see Dr. Breen on that large monitor, and you recognize him. You're like, wait a second. I know who he is, even though we don't see him in Half-Life. It is revealed in Chapter 2 who he is. That's Dr. Breen. He was the administrator of Black Mesa. What's he doing on a screen, talking to people, welcoming them to City 17? And all of a sudden you see this, what looks to be like a police officer of some sort, hassling a citizen for just wanting to grab his suitcase. And he tells him to move along in that deep, mechanical-sounding voice. And you wonder, who is that? Well, you try to get a closer look and he ends up pushing you away. And then he has a nightstick. And he chases you with it. And he wants to hit you with it. What? Okay, where are we? What year is this? That is what makes Half-Life 2 so great, is that you're not spoon-fed anything. Nothing. It is a complete mystery to you at first. It's not until you start playing the game, and even if you finish the game and come back for a second, third, or fourth helping of the game, you still don't really fully understand what the heck is going on around here. But you slowly, but surely, with each playthrough, you slowly start piecing the stuff together, and you start coming to the conclusion, wait a second. Something went terribly wrong after the Black Mesa incident. In fact, you really don't have to play very long to discover that fact, but you start piecing together the whys, the hows, and you start realizing mankind is crushed. Mankind is in a desperate situation. They're all dressed in blue. Something comes to my mind right now. That poor lady in Chapter 1, no else. When you get off the train, she's waiting by the fence, right? And she says, Overwatch stopped our train in the woods and took my husband for questioning. They said he'd be on the next train. I'm not sure when that was. They're being nice, though, letting me wait for him. She's fooled herself, or she's been manipulated by these entities, this evil, that you sense that there's evil all around, yet these Breencasts that you see are contrary to that. And you step out, and you're in the plaza of City 17, and you see the Breencast up there in all of its glory, and you get your first glimpse of the Citadel in all of its glory. And you find out that the citizens have one more thing that they have to deal with under this mysterious suppression, and that is the inability to reproduce. I'm going to read the Breencast that is said to you because I think it is one of the most important things that you got to pay attention to understand what might be going on around here. So let me go ahead and read that right now. Let me read a letter I recently received. Dear Dr. Breen, why has the Combine seen fit to suppress our reproductive cycle? Sincerely, a concerned citizen. Thank you for writing, Concerned. Of course, your question touches on one of the most basic biological impulses, with all its associated hopes and fears for the future of the species. I also detect some unspoken questions. Do our benefactors really know what's best for us? What gives them the right to make this kind of decision for mankind? Will they ever deactivate the suppression field and let us breed again? Allow me to address the anxieties underlying your concerns, rather than try to answer every possible question you might have left unvoiced. First, let us consider the fact that for the first time ever, as a species, immortality is in our reach. This simple fact has far-reaching implications. It requires radical rethinking and revision of our genetic imperatives. It also requires planning and forethought that run in direct opposition to our neural presets. I find it helpful at times like these to remind myself that our true enemy is instinct. Instinct was our mother when we were an infant species. Instinct cuddled us and kept us safe in those hard scrabble years when we hardened our sticks and cooked our first meals above a meager fire and started at the shadows that leapt upon the cavern's walls. But inseparable from instinct is its dark twin, superstition. Instinct is inextricably bound to unreasoning impulses, and today we clearly see its true nature. Instinct has just become aware of its irrelevance, and like a cornered beast, it will not go down without a bloody fight. Instinct would inflict a fatal injury on our species. Instinct creates its own oppressors and bids us rise up against them. Instinct tells us that the unknown is a threat rather than an opportunity. Instinct slyly and covertly compels us away from change and progress. Instinct, therefore, must be expunged. It must be fought tooth and nail, beginning with the basest of human urges, the urge to reproduce. We should thank our benefactors for giving us respite from this overpowering force. They have thrown a switch and exorcised our demons in a single stroke. They have given us the strength we never could have summoned to overcome this compulsion. They have given us purpose. They have turned our eyes toward the stars. Let me assure you that the suppressing field will be shut off on the day that we have mastered ourselves, the day we can prove we no longer need it. And that day of transformation, I have it on good authority, is close at hand. Okay, now let me take this opportunity to say that Dr. Breen is not telling the truth, and it is obvious he is not. As we see throughout Half-Life 2, he really doesn't hold in high regard the human race. He really considers them something to exploit rather than to admire and preserve. That's his position. So why does he take this concerned, quote-unquote, concerned citizen's letter and actually talk as if he's sweet and nice? Well, it's because he's the puppet master. Maybe not puppet master, but he is the puppet of a regime, and his job as puppet, as administrator, is to try and sell this product. Sell the regime, as it were. Because if you don't sell a regime, we've seen it in our own human history. If you cannot sell to the people your regime, there are going to be uprisings, and your government is in trouble if that occurs. You must sell your regime. So how do you sell it in this case? How do you sell a regime who has basically turned off your reproductive cycle? Well, Dr. Breen is rather intelligent. This is an intelligent speech, well written. Sounds good on the outside, but when you look deeper into it, you see it as complete horse manure. First of all, the first thing that you want to do is try and sell the fact that indeed the Combine, yes, they've invaded Earth. Yes, your lives are completely miserable now, and I'm sorry for that, but you know what? They have access to technology that can make you immortal. If you can be immortal, there is no need to have kids anymore. If you become immortal, there is no need for instinct, because instinct kept you alive back when you did not have immortality. It preserved your life. Instinct helped you, but now we don't need it no more. No, that's not what's really going on. What is really going on is the Combine are taking the fit humans and they are transforming them into transhumans, aka Combine soldiers, aka Combine elite, aka stalkers. That's the real truth. When we look at Chapter 7, Highway 17, and Chapter 8, Sand Traps, when we look out on the ocean, what do we see? Whoa, it has gone way down. We see the beaches just extend forever as if there once was water there. The Combine are draining the oceans and using it for their own purposes on their other worlds, wherever they come from. Even I don't know where they come from, even though we do get a glimpse into their world. When we look at the final chapter of Half-Life 2, we see Dr. Breen about ready to enter that portal, and we can actually see inside the portal. And we see what actually looks like other citadels inside that portal. Very scary stuff. So this citadel that we were in the last chapter, obviously, is Combine technology. We figured that out without having to look into the portal, but it concretes that evidence that it is Combine technology. Anyway, so how do you sell it? How do you sell the regime? By doing it this way. By saying you can become more than what you once were. Well, you look at the propaganda posters that were posted everywhere. Throughout many of the chapters, we see the monkey, and then we see the human, and then we see the Combine soldier. They are trying to sell to you that you can become more than what you are. These are the Combine soldiers. They are not the Combine themselves. They were once human beings like you and me, but they were either forced into it or they volunteered into it because they bought into Dr. Breen's regime. And I am so thankful he is gone, even though Robert Culp, the voice actor for Wallace Breen, I swear he deserved it. In whatever award they give for video game voice acting, he deserved it because it was the best performance, I think, in that game. So moving on, we realize the Combine, whoever they are not good. Anyway, we meet Isaac Kleiner, Eli Vance, Alex, the beautiful Alex. Adorable, but yet a badass. And we escape City 17. We're in Chapter 5, in Black Mesa East, and we look at some of Eli Vance's posters that he has up on the wall, and we see a newspaper clipping of the 7 Hours War. Oh, the 7 Hours War, with Dr. Breen on the cover of that newspaper. And Eli Vance over your shoulder says, Dr. Breen, he's the administrator of this whole vile business now. He ended the 7 Hours War by managing Earth's surrender. The Combine rewarded him with power. Okay, so Dr. Breen was once the administrator of Black Mesa while Gordon Freeman was there. And then now he manages Earth's surrender and becomes the administrator of the entire world. The 7 Hours War. What started it? What happened? The G-Man put us in stasis. We really don't know what happened. We do know, we can theorize in a way that it has been about 20 years since the Black Mesa incident that the Half-Life 2 events take place, but sometime in between there was a war that took place between Earth and the Combine when they invaded. And here is what we can suppose. Here is what the community as a whole can suppose what happened at that time. In my estimation, within just a few weeks after the Black Mesa incident, the Nihilanth, obviously as we know, died, but it unintentionally tore a rift between Earth and Zen. It tore a rift which allowed more Zen creatures like headcrabs and barnacles to enter onto the Earth. That's why when we're playing Half-Life 2, we can see more barnacles outside of Black Mesa. It's not just in Black Mesa no more. So it allowed the Zen creatures to teleport all throughout the Earth. And I believe that this rift that was torn between Earth and Zen alerted the Combine somehow in their other dimension. And they probably tore open the rift even further, and they entered into the rift, and they came to either Zen first, or they came to Earth first. It's not clear which first. Zen obviously is now under the control of the Combine because they are taking headcrabs and actually manipulating them. We now have poison headcrabs. We now have fast headcrabs. Yes, my friends, those types of headcrabs were not an original creature from Zen, as far as I can tell. It is why we are able to use the gravity gun on them, in my opinion. In my opinion, what is going on is the Combine are taking these headcrabs from Zen, implanting them with chips of some kind so they can keep track of them. They can keep track of where they are on the Earth. They can put them inside of these Combine rockets and launch them wherever, as we see the Combine rockets. And we get a good glimpse of the Combine launcher in that, what's that called? That one chapter that takes place in between Chapter 7 and Chapter 8. Lost Coast. We get a good glimpse of that thing. I believe the chip that is installed in these headcrabs allows us to be able to use the gravity gun on them. Because the chip is not flesh. You're able to use it. Now about the antlions, why you can use the gravity gun on the antlions, I don't know. In fact, I don't even know if antlions are even part of the Xenian force or not. I really have no idea. They could be, they might not be. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but that's okay. That's the purpose of this video, is to try and explain everything. So the Combine invade Earth, and they start the 7 Hours War with us. They are obviously so much more powerful than we are that they are able to defeat us basically in 7 hours. we really don't know who the Combine really are at this point in Half-Life 2. We have not played Half-Life 2 Episode 1 or Episode 2 yet in the walkthrough. All we really know, we have a glimpse of what might be the Combine, though we're still not sure if it's the face of the Combine or not. But remember, after Judith Mossman frees us from our prison, and we're chasing after Breen, and Breen is talking with a Combine advisor on the screen, and we see his image on it. That is what we perceive to be the Combine, though we're not exactly sure. What's to say that that thing on the screen is not another enslaved race that is doing the bidding of the Combine? We really can't assuredly say that the Combine advisor is the Combine. It may just be another enslaved alien race. All we have really seen is the Combine overworld itself. And that was in the glimpse of the portal at the very end of the game. So, the Combine have invaded Earth. They have defeated Earth. Wallace Breen is now the puppet of the Combine. And what are the Combine now doing? Well, they're rounding up the fit of the human forces, and they are converting them into these cyborg creatures. They're a combination of humans and technology, and they are the Combine soldiers, the Combine elite, and the Stalkers, whom we know very well. We know all of them very well from Half-Life 2. We fought many of them and killed them. It saddens me to think that they were once human beings, and they have either volunteered that position to become a transhuman because they bought into Dr. Breen's evolution into the next level of evolution, or they were forced into it, either through threat of bodily harm or death, or threat to their family. The Combine are a regime. There's really no other way to say it. They are an evil regime. And it seems to me that there is probably a division of the Combine soldiers and Combine elite. Yes, the elite are more trained than the soldiers are, so that's not the division I'm talking about. The division that I'm talking about are the ones who volunteered and the ones who did not volunteer. There's a little bit of evidence that suggests that. I believe the soldiers who are a part of the Overwatch, I'm not sure if there are any other divisions other than just the Overwatch. At least the City 17 Overwatch, which are the Combine soldiers and the Combine elite, those ones have volunteered that position. And it comes from the evidence that I have, comes from the Breencast that was sent to the Overwatch in Nova Prospekt. That Breencast is my absolute favorite one of all time, because it reveals a little bit about the Combine soldiers, the Overwatch. And it really tells a story about how they probably volunteered the position, and they want to present themselves proud before their Combine masters. They want to show the real Combine that, hey, look at us. We are powerful now. Don't dispense of us. Use us. I'm going to read that Breencast now so that you are able to just see a little bit about what the Combine soldiers were. So I will read that right now. I have been asked to say a few words to the transhuman arm of Sector 17 Overwatch, concerning recent successes in containing members of the Resistance Science Team. Let me say up front that I regret having to temper my heartfelt congratulations with a strong measure of disappointment. But I wouldn't be doing my duty as your administrator if I didn't pass along the message I have received from our benefactors. The capture of Eli Vance is an event of major significance, make no mistake. And while it's true that conceivably we could have taken him at almost any time in the last several years, the manner of his capture may prove to have unexpected benefits. It cannot have gone unnoticed by all Resistance members that Dr. Vance's capture coincided with the act of giving shelter to Gordon Freeman. This might cause other Resistance members to think twice before harboring Dr. Freeman. It might cause them to question his allegiance, even prompt some to turn him out or turn him over to our cause. However, we cannot count on such developments. Dr. Freeman's reputation is such that other desperate renegades are likely to grant him a great deal of license in the spirit of spreading general chaos and terror. This brings me to the one note of disappointment I must echo from our benefactors. Obviously, I am not on the ground to closely command or second-guess the dedicated forces of the Overwatch, but this does not mean I can shirk responsibility for recent lapses and even outright failures on their part. I have been severely questioned about these shortcomings, and now must put the question to you. How could one man have slipped through your force's fingers time and time again? How is it possible? This is not some agent provocateur or highly trained assassin we are discussing. Gordon Freeman is a theoretical physicist who had hardly earned the distinction of his Ph.D. at the time of the Black Mesa incident. I have good reason to believe that in the intervening years he was in a state that precluded further development of covert skills. The man you have consistently failed to slow, let alone capture, is by all standards simply that, an ordinary man. How could you have failed to apprehend him? Well, I will leave the upbraiding for another time, to the extent it proves necessary. Now is the moment to redeem yourselves. If the transhuman forces are to prove themselves in indispensable augmentation to the Combine Overwatch, they will have to earn the privilege. I'm sure I don't have to remind you that the alternative, if you can call it that, is total extinction, in union with all the other unworthy branches of the species. Let's not allow it to come to that. I have done my best to convince our benefactors that you are the finest the species has to offer. So far, they have accepted my argument, but without concrete evidence to back it up. My words sound increasingly hollow even to me. The burden of proof is on you, as is the consequence of failure. I'll just leave it at that. Now, there's lots here, I promise you. There is lots here in this particular Breencast that you can literally spend 5 or 6 hours dissecting, which I'm not going to do for the sake of time. But the one line that I want to enunciate here is this one. If the transhuman forces are to prove themselves in indispensable augmentation to the Combine Overwatch, they will have to earn the privilege. It makes me wonder if the transhuman forces which make up the City-17 Overwatch, but then there's also the Combine Overwatch, an indispensable augmentation to the Combine Overwatch. It makes me wonder if there are indeed other types of troops in the Overwatch that we have not seen yet. Or maybe we'll never see, because maybe they are not part of City-17 at all. You gotta remember that the City-17 Overwatch, while it is very powerful, is just a subgenre of the Combine Overwatch. They're just a little section of the world. Who knows what is going on the other side of the world? I don't know. And there's really no other way to look at it except that is a possibility. So, we now know who the Combine soldiers and Combine elite and stalkers once were. They were once human, but now they are transhuman. Perfect example, we are in Nova Prospekt, right? And we come across that diagram, as it were, of the changes that are made to a human being to become a Combine soldier. It is a nasty demonstration that we see. Looks painful, and they probably wipe your mind of your memories so you don't remember who you were. It's scary, and you are basically not human anymore, especially if you're a stalker. I get a look at them, and I'm being serious. I have a deep sympathy for them. I am hurt to see that, even in a video game. It pains me to see that a human being can be degraded to such a level as that. A slave, no legs, no arms, shaven of all hair, no nose, barely any eyes, and technology, metal poking out of their body, probably painfully, all the time. They are probably in pain 24 hours a day, no sleep. It's why I always will try to kill them when I see them, because I put them out of their misery. They don't know who they are. They're just slaves to this regime, as it were. And I hate that about the Combine. They're an evil idea. The idea that Doctor Breen is trying to sell to the human race is just plain evil. And he lacks empathy. Because if he got one glimpse of the stalkers, he would know just... He has to realize how evil it is, but he doesn't care. He gets to live in luxury, which is why I was so happy to overthrow him and kill him in the end. Well, supposedly we killed him. Hopefully we did. We really don't know if we did or not, 100%. Anyway, we know who the soldiers, elite, and stalkers once were. They were once human beings, but how about the metro cops? The civil protection, as it were. The ones who wear the white gas masks, who carry around pistols and machine guns. And they're the weakest of the Combine Overwatch. Truthfully, the evidence we have that they are 100% human is Barney Calhoun. He's working as a metro cop, working undercover, as it were, as a metro cop. I'm glad to hear that he said he's way behind on his beating quota. Apparently they have a quota of beatings. You're required to beat people. Maybe X number of times per week, per month, per year, probably per day. That's crazy. So Barney, he's 100% human, yet he's working with the Combine Metro Police. That to me suggests another thing. They are volunteers, or they are forced into it. But more than likely, they are volunteers because their mind has not been erased. And hear me out. If they were forced into it, like absolutely forced into it by threat of violence or violence to family or friends or whatever the case may be, there would be a chance that they could be turned back to the quote-unquote good side, back to the human side. They're probably volunteers. And here's why they are probably volunteers. A, they have either bought into the idea of Dr. Breen, or B, they get to live in a little bit more luxury than the common citizen. Better food, better accommodations like a bed, a room to sleep in. But they are not transhuman. And that at least makes me a little bit happy that they can at least still be human. Yes, they are trying to shoot me, so I will shoot them. And they are given access to certain types of weapons. They're given access to a pistol, and then a more upgraded version of the Metro Cop is given a machine gun. And then even the Combine APC vehicles they are given as well. But what's interesting is that in Chapter 4, we've had this Hunter Chopper on our butt the entire chapter, right? Well, we finally get access to the mounted gun that we are able to shoot at the chopper. And what happens? The co-pilot gets knocked out of commission, and he falls out of the chopper, right? We remember that in Chapter 4, Water Hazard, at the end, during the dam fight. And we go to look at his corpse, and it is not a Metro Cop. It is a Combine soldier. And by the way, yes, just real quickly, Combine soldiers come in two types. The ones with the blue eyes and the ones with the reddish-orange eyes. The blue eyes have machine gun type weapons, and the orange eyes are the ones with the shotguns. They are the ones who are, in my opinion, the most deadly of the Combine soldiers, especially at close range. Anyway, we see it's a Combine soldier who is dead. So there is a limit, it seems, to what a humanoid is able to have access to. A humanoid servant of the Combine is not given access to a Hunter Chopper. That is the line that is drawn. That's what separates a human from a transhuman. Then, after the Hunter Chopper fight is over, and everything goes silent, and we celebrate our victory over the Combine, we zoom our airboat over to a little sewer pipe, and we go down it, and we come across a Vortigaunt. Oh my, if we remember from the Black Mesa, Half-Life, and Half-Life Opposing Force and Blue Shift, we know that the Vortigaunts were our enemies. But now it seems, especially according to their quotes that they say to Gordon, they are fighting with us against the Combine. Okay, how did this happen? Well, if we remember from Half-Life, we noticed that the Vortigaunts were wearing something that they do not appear to be wearing in Half-Life 2. And those are the neck ring and the wrist rings that they're wearing. That is a symbol of slavery. Who were they enslaved to? Probably the Nihilanth were enslaving them and sending them out to war against Black Mesa and against any other that the Nihilanth felt would oppose him. Now they're free because we killed the Nihilanth. And they probably teleported to Earth during the Great Rift, and they witnessed or even participated in fighting against the Combine during the 7-Hour War. And now that they're free from the clutches of the Nihilanth, and now that the Combine have taken over Zen completely and are using their headcrabs for their own purposes, the Vortigaunts have decided to wage war against them and stand shoulder to shoulder with the humans, which is just great. It seems the Vortigaunts know a thing or two about what is going on, and that Vortigaunt in the cave, the Vortigaunt in the sewer pipe that we come across, knows a lot. Cryptically, it's very cryptic, very hard to understand, but he knows a thing or two, and I'm going to read a few of those quotes, some of my favorites, to you. So here we go. There is no distance between us, no false veil of time or space may intervene. We are a tapestry woven of vortescence. It is the same for you, if only you would see it. Could you but see the eyes inside your own, the minds in your mind, you would see how much we share. How many are there in you? Whose hopes and dreams do you encompass? How often have we slipped our yoke only to find it choking us again? Let this war end in either total victory or our extinction. No further compromise shall we allow. Our life is worthless unless spent on freedom. Something secret steers us both. We shall not name it. That sharp spur of hope has not dulled to this day. For once the lesser master lay defeated, we knew the greater must also fall in time. The Combine will pay in kind for their depravity. There is more to the freeman than meets the eye. We bear witness to the bright eternity of the Nihilanth's demise. You leap, you fall, we see you flash beyond the barriers. We call you Sib, although your mind and meaning are a mystery to us. We cannot forget those whose cords you cut. Forgiveness is not ours to bestow. We have endured these chafing bonds for eons, yet a single moment of further servitude seems intolerable. We have lost all dear to us. We never dreamed to meet you in corporeal form. We see you still in Black Mesa. Clearly we see you in the Nihilanth's chamber. We serve the same mystery. We take our stand beside you here upon this miserable rock. What seems to you a sacrifice is merely to us an oscillation. We do not fear the interval of darkness. While our own lay scattered at your feet, you severed the vortal cord that bound the Nihilanth to life and to us. With you beside us, a talisman of victory, the day of freedom draws nigh. Your bright face obscures your darker mask. Your song we sing and shall sing for eternity, no matter the consequences of this struggle. So yes, it seems the Vortigaunts know a thing or two about what's going on, especially when it comes to the mind of Gordon Freeman and the mind of everybody else, really. But it's so cryptic and hard to understand that we can suppose at what he is referring to, but you know, that could be for another video in itself entirely. So we progress with the game and we go to Ravenholm, where I was a bit too excited, a bit too happy, it seems, to kill the zombies and watch them burn and suffer. It just seemed I was a bit too excited there, wasn't it? But that's okay. But the fact is, let's be a little bit realistic here, especially in terms of the game itself. It's a horrible, depressing, terrible town to be in. And yes, I'm going off topic just a small bit here, because you gotta understand what having a head crab on your head means. It means A, you're still alive during the whole process. That grunting and screaming of the zombie when you burn it, that's the person's voice who is screaming. That's not the head crab. It's the muffled cries that you hear. Originally, Valve had a line in it. You can look it up on YouTube and hear it. They had a line where they basically said, as they were burning, "Oh God, help me." But I think Valve figured out that that was a little bit too traumatic. So what they did was they reversed it. They basically took that sound clip and reversed it, played it backwards, and that's the screams that you hear in the game. I personally think it would be way too traumatic if that were the case. I'd rather not hear that as I'm burning zombies, and quite honestly, I would not burn them if they were saying that line. I would just kill them outright with a saw blade or with other blunt objects to kill them. Anyways, we get out of Ravenholm. We get past the snipers. Yes, there are combined snipers. And we get to the sands with antlions. We're not sure where they come from. Whether they come from the Combine overworld, or they come from Zen, or some other world. We really don't know. I don't know. I really don't have a theory on that either. But the Vortigaunt sure seem to know where they came from, so it may be they came from Zen, or they just know more about the worlds than humans do. Because obviously, the Vortigaunts were able to take the antlion bug bait from the antlion guard, and you're able to become your very own antlion guard and harbor a bunch of sweetnesses to your cause. Then we get to Nova Prospekt. This is where all of the transhumaning takes place, as it were. At least one of the locations on Earth where the transhumaning takes place. And boy, is it a wretched place. The thing is, when we first enter into Nova Prospekt, there's no one fighting us. It seems all the jail cells are abandoned. The Combine are not using that wing of Nova Prospekt. Which makes you wonder where in the world Half-Life 2 takes place. Some have suggested, because of the writings on the walls and other shop signs that were once in operation, it takes place somewhere in the Ukraine. In what once was Ukraine. Because after the Combine takes over, there's no more countries of the world. Every country and city is divided into city numbers. City 14, City 17, and so on and so forth. So it may be in Ukraine somewhere. So maybe Nova Prospekt is in the Ukraine or Russia. I really don't know for certain, but Nova Prospekt was once a prison. It's just that when we first enter into it, it's obviously in very much disrepair and not being used in certain wings. But then we start coming to what looks to be what they use to transform humans into either Combine soldiers or Combine elite, or even worse, the Stalkers. And we see evidence of that throughout, as I demonstrated in the walkthrough itself. We escape Nova Prospekt, and it's a glorious moment when we do so, because it's a very tricky scenario to escape, as we know. And then, once we basically get out, Eli Vance is once again captured and put inside of the Citadel itself. And so is Alex Vance. She's captured. Oh no, your girlfriend. She's gone, and we must rescue her and your future father-in-law. And boy, what a father-in-law he would become. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Enough glorifying Alex for the time being. But basically, we have to invade this Citadel. Now, where did the Citadel come from? Well, it's basically, if we read Doctor Breen's Breencast, when we first enter into City 17, we notice that the Citadel has basically been provided by our benefactors. Our benefactors, aka, meaning the Combine. So the Citadel was provided by them, for the people. I'm not really sure about that. In my opinion, the Citadel was put there, and the Citadel there are probably multiple Citadels on multiple worlds out there in the universe. And I believe these Citadels are meant to be headquarters for the Combine. Dr. Breen is using the Citadel as his headquarters, located in City 17, conveniently for Gordon Freeman. Well, what does Gordon Freeman do? He is a wrecker. He gets in that Citadel and he blows the top of it to smithereens, destroys Wallace Breen's portal, presumably kills Wallace Breen, and kills his girlfriend as well, as we see at the end of Half-Life 2, right? Well, that's not necessarily the end of the game, though. As we know, there is an Episode 1 and Episode 2. And now there's going to be a new Half-Life game called Half-Life Alyx. So it's not the end of the franchise yet. So we don't really know what is going to happen yet until we play Episode 1, which I have multiple times, so I know what happens. I imagine all of you have as well. I mean, if you haven't played Episode 1 or Episode 2 yet, that seems rather difficult to understand, especially if you've already played Half-Life and Half-Life 2 by this time. Anyway, we presumably kill our girlfriend. I'll just leave it at that. Presumably. So we're a wrecker. We destroy everything in the Citadel. And that's not going to bode well for the Combine. I guarantee it. They are not going to be happy for what one man did. As we see Dr. Breen getting very frustrated with the City 17 Overwatch, which are the Combine soldiers and Combine elite, and saying, how can you not stop one man? Well, it goes to show that even Dr. Breen couldn't stop one man. The one free man, the opener of the way. So we know what the Citadel is made for. It's made as a headquarters for the Combine. It's unclear at this point if any real Combine entities inhabit the Citadel or not. Do these Combine advisors inhabit the Citadel? We shall see as we get to Episode 1 and Episode 2. That's all I will say at the moment regarding that. there will be discussion videos of Episode 1 and Episode 2, so stay tuned for those after I finish the walkthroughs of Episode 1 and Episode 2. There will also be discussion videos for Portal and Portal 2 as well, so stick around for those too. In other news, I guess that's going to be pretty much it for this discussion video. There's not a whole lot that is revealed to us through dialogue, even though we can basically ascertain certain things from the dialogue, really important things from the dialogue, but we really can't piece everything together through just the dialogue. It also requires us to use our eyes and just look at the environment. Look at the fact that the oceans have been drained. Look at the fact that basically the entire world is under the regime of the Combine. The Combine are not patrolling the streets, though. They're relying on transhumans and volunteered humans to do their bidding, which makes you wonder something if indeed the true Combine are weak creatures, and they rely on the strong arm of captured people to do their bidding. It's unclear yet who they really are. Maybe we'll see more as we play the episodes, and Half-Life Alyx, and hopefully Half-Life 3 way on in the future. I would love to be able to say, hey guys, welcome to the Half-Life 3 100% walkthrough. So just look at the environment of Half-Life 3. Next time you play, just look at it. Look at the state it has become. And just look at the citizens, on how gloomy and depressed they are. But once you strike that blow at Nova Prospekt, Isaac Kleiner says you have sparked something in these people. The one free man, if he alone is able to destroy Nova Prospekt and stop production momentarily of transhumans, we can do the same thing as citizens. We can band together and stop the Combine once and for all. It's a worldwide regime, my friends, and believe me, it's going to take a lot of work to free the Earth from the Combine, and I think the G-Man knows it. The fact is, we still don't know anything about the G-Man in Half-Life 2. Not much else is revealed about him, except that he wakes you up on a red letter day. What are the odds that he would wake you out of stasis and put you into City 17 on the day that Isaac Kleiner has basically made the teleporter? And you try it, and it all goes haywire. And you end up not going where you need to go. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. Time? Dr. Freeman? Is it really that time again? It seems as if we only just arrived. I'm BigMacDavis here, and I shall see you in the Half-Life 2 Episode 1 100% walkthrough. Take care, everybody.